It is the year 2018, and someone new wants to hit it big on YouTube. Little does he know, inspiration is about to strike.
I've got it. I'll make a review on a game nobody cares about, and then it'll be unique and get famous. Well, it turns out that wasn't the best idea, so I decided to actually review something relevant. Sonic Forces.
So this game has some really mixed reviews, despite the fact that apparently, according to Sega anyway, a lot of people liked it. It released last year, which would be 2017 at the time of this video being made, and was really super hyped up to be awesome, with a CGI trailer that was later expanded twice. Once to reveal the name and logo, and then once to show off the custom character feature, which we'll talk about later. The actual tone of the game ended up being vastly different from what fans were expecting, putting a very large emphasis on the custom character, a story that made a not entirely successful attempt at being darker, lots of plot holes, missing ends, and details that just didn't add up. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the game is bad overall. I get some enjoyment out of Sonic 06, and objectively speaking, almost every aspect of that game besides the CGI cutscenes and music are pretty not good at all. Let's move on to the game's story. It begins with Eggman monologuing about how he keeps getting defeated over and over, and how he created a new ultimate weapon, yada yada yada. We then see Sonic running through Green Hill Zone to reach the city, yep, it's just called the city for some reason, in order to thwart yet another attack by Eggman. He soon finds himself outmatched by someone who is somehow faster than him, and gets his spiny hiney kicked by Shadow, Zavok, Chaos, Metal Sonic, and this mysterious new attacker. After he is tossed around like a blue punching bag, he is knocked into the ground and killed.
That's right, Sonic dies.
We are given a glorious black screen with white text explaining that Sonic was defeated and Eggman took over in about 6 months.
Oh no!
The game then shows us the Resistance, which consists of Knuckles as the leader, Amy, Silver, the Chaotix, and Rouge. Tails is claimed to have gone insane after Sonic died, so he's off doing something. Whatever crazy people do, I guess. The world is currently in despair as the forces the Resistance have aren't anywhere near enough to stop Eggman's army. A convenient excuse is now given for your custom character to show up in the game's plot, and then you're taken to the character customization screen, which we still aren't going to talk about yet. After making your original the character, Do Not Steal, you're taken to yet another cutscene which features said character, whom the Resistance dubbed Rookie and is referred to as the Avatar in menus and whatnot, before abruptly being told that Sonic is indeed not dead.
Surprise.
Knuckles sends your avatar in a squad to chemical plant Spaceport, which looks really cool but you don't get to do much there at all, to steal a ship to go to the Death Egg, where Sonic is. Before that plot actually progresses at all though, you're taken back to the city where you see Tails, who appears to be 100% sane, attempting to fix Omega, who appears to be 100% dead, and not being able to do it for some reason. Chaos Zero suddenly shows up, and Tails, who has beaten far stronger enemies on his own in the past on more than one occasion, cowardly turns around holding his head while shouting for Sonic, whom he believes dead, to save him. Suddenly, Chaos is homing attacked by none other than Classic the Sonic, who showed up straight out of Sonic Mania, yes it's canon, and Tails says something stupid about the world needing a Sonic present to keep the universe from imploding before the two head to the next stage. Going back to the Resistance, Rouge says Eggman kept Sonic alive to show off how good he is at conquering the world before sending him to the darkest depths of space.
Classic villain trope numero uno.
Eggman found out about the Resistance trying to rescue Sonic because they kinda sorta stole one of his spaceships to do so, and decides he's gonna ship Sonic out earlier than planned. It doesn't matter though, because your avatar and some assorted friends who do absolutely nothing get on board the Death Egg anyway. After a quick avatar stage, Sonic, who is about to be dragged out of a cell by Zavok after supposedly having been tortured for 6 months, is perfectly fine at making Sonic Color's quality of jokes. Sonic fights Zavok with some witty dialogue and then breaks out of the Death Egg on his own, somehow ending up on a ship outside the Death Egg while saying that he was locked up on the Death Egg and heading towards the Death Egg. This game sure makes a lot of sense. Sonic rescues your character from their attempt at saving him, has a quick interspace phone call with Knuckles and Amy, then runs back to the shuttle the Resistance brought and leaves the Death Egg for Mobius. Or Earth.
Or Sonic's world.
After a quick reunion, Sonic is informed that Silver is fighting the mysterious enemy that managed to best him in Mystic Jungle, and quickly races through Boost Button the stage to help him out. Silver causes this enemy to drop some gem that he was holding in hammer space before being knocked to the ground, and Sonic shows up in order to duel this foe. He introduces himself as Infinite, and after a short interaction...
Hold that thought. What if there was a fight where Silver helped Sonic fight Infinite? Wouldn't that be so cool? Wow, that was disappointing. Time to get the toilet paper roll of really big mistakes. Ah, much better.
Infinite makes the classic villain mistake, TM, of not killing his enemy due to pride and leaves, while Sonic and Silver go back to the base. Tails and Classic Sonic now go through Green Hill, and learn from Eggman and Infinite that the latter is in possession of something known as the Phantom Ruby, also back from Mania but not exactly the same, we'll talk about that later, and that they destroyed all the prototypes in order to keep a disastrous consequence TM from occurring, as well as discovering that Sonic might not actually be dead.
Like there was ever any doubt.
Infinite is revealed to be a total edgelord, and then Classic Sonic beats the crap out of the Egg Dragoon. Eggman makes an obligatory, "I'll win in 3 days" comment, haha heroes, and flies off. The Avatar goes to the city in order to save a number of civilians due to the resistance being too spread out, Sonic and Silver are still technically in Mystic Jungle at this point, and then goes to the jungle themselves once the two Hedgehogs return. They find the gem that Infinite dropped in the fight with Silver, which turns out to be one of the prototype rubies that should have been destroyed, and then Classic Sonic and Tails show up at that exact moment. Your character leads all 3 of them back to the Resistance base, where Tails happily finds out Sonic is indeed alive, and Sonic makes a not-so-great pun about seeing Classic Sonic once again.
It's been generations since I seen you. You okay?
Oh, sorry. I thought it would be a good idea to eat some garlic bread right now. You want some?
Sonic runs into the city once more in order to find Shadow, who can apparently fly. Oh, shoot. After running through the city in around 60 seconds, Sonic runs into Edgy the Hedgie himself, who attacks silently despite Sonic's questions. As Sonic flinches instead of being cool, the real Shadow, TM, shows up, uses Chaos Control on the other Shadow, then kicks him, sending him flying back before he hits the ground and fades away. Shadow then reveals that was a fake, as were Chaos and Zavik, which is supposed to make the story make sense, but it really doesn't. Also, Sonic doubts this for some reason, which I don't understand, but the writers already took the Sonic canon and mangled it beyond recognition, so whatever. After the Resistance is told about all this, Knuckles gets the great idea to attack Eggman's main base of operations in Metropolis directly.
Why does this city get a name?
Due to his forces, being stationed mostly elsewhere. But Infinite instead uses the magic spooky diamond button and ruins the entire plan, defeating some unknown number of Resistance troops and causing everyone else, including the Avatar, to retreat. As your character is doing so, they run into Infinite yet again, and supposedly inspiring words from Sonic that he literally never said at all in the game are utilized in quick flashback memories in order to stage a battle between OC the character, Do Not Steal, and Wannabe Shadow. At the end of this fight, Infinite uses the Phantom Ruby's powers to generate several cannons and tries to kill the Avatar despite having spared them many months ago when they were but a helpless citizen. But this fails due to the one single Phantom Ruby prototype that wasn't destroyed, causing the conjured projectiles to phase out for just a second. Infinite comments on how this should not have happened before once again just leaving what could be his eventual doom alive to come back and defeat him later, while stating that the world will be toast in 2 days anyway. Tails and Classic Sonic then head straight to Chemical Plant in order to discover the weakness of the Phantom Ruby, which turns out to be a generator of sorts in the Death Egg Center because apparently it needs a source of power to operate.
I don't know how this is supposed to work because charging mouse pads for iOS mice have only recently became a thing in our reality, but I mean, hey, okay, I guess.
Your character and Sonic bond while defeating a fake Metal Sonic because apparently the real one just isn't worth it anymore. The Avatar is given the task of distracting Eggman's army in Green Hill while Sonic attacks Chemical Plant to leave the Death Egg vulnerable, so that Classic Sonic and Tails can visit the Death Egg in space and attempt to blow it up like this is Star Wars or something. They eventually succeed after you get dizziness from just playing Death Egg, and then the massive floating fortress is blown to pieces. While it's possible that many innocent prisoners were harmed here, that's obviously beside the point. They were sacrificed for the greater good. Yeah. What's currently remaining of Eggman's army, which is still pretty significant, returns to Metropolis, and the Resistance capitalizes on this in order to attack it once more. Sonic barrels through the high-tech city and eventually locates Eggman with his buddy Tails following closely along. Infinite pulls another rabbit out of a non-existent hat and creates a sort of black hole that begins to pull Sonic in, despite the fact that the Ruby should be inoperable at this point in time. Your Avatar shows up out of nowhere and attempts to save Sonic using their grappling hook, but the cable breaks and they both get sucked in as a result. This lands them both in null space, a place where nothing exists. Apparently the road they run on is made of nothing! Eggman then reveals to Tails that he had a backup power supply for the Ruby build under the city before relieving the Fox in order to oversee the rest of the battle. Anyway, the two heroes spend around 15 seconds inside null space, legit, before double boosting their way out and battling their way through the war zone once more. They find Infinite and Eggman again, and then the two retreat in order to engage the final phase of their plan while the Resistance takes over the city. At this point, the Resistance army heads straight for the Doctor's fortress, dubbed the Eggman Empire Fortress, a nice name I must say, to try and shut down the Ruby once again. Omega appears during the battle, how he was fixed we may never know, and helps them overcome the army of Phantom Illusions, dubbed Replicas. But now the true plan of the Mad Genius is revealed. Infinite creates a giant sun to wipe out the planet. Completely. On a different note, Tails suggests that the Avatar use their prototype Ruby to make the sun disappear, cause that's totally a thing. After a final desperate climb up the tower, your character succeeds as their prototype shatters onto the ground, its power spent. Sonic, meanwhile, speeds his way through the base, taking out a large number of Eggman's force. Okay, yeah, I can't do this anymore. Taking out a large number of robots in his path in the process. He confronts Infinite one final time while he has the advantage of the Ruby being weak, although he is unable to defeat him before it recharges. Not to fear though, OC the character shows up and joins Sonic mid-fight, and the two defeat Infinite for good before he either flies off or is forcefully pulled away by the Ruby and then dissipates into thin air, not to be seen for what's left of the game. Dr. Eggman, however, appears yet again, stating that the reactor in the base Sonic and the Avatar just destroyed was in fact fake, and that he put the real Ruby and power source into a brand new, very menacing, and super boring Death Egg robot. At the same time, an insane amount of replicas begin to spawn, giving the Resistance's numbers trouble. I guess Shadow can't pull off that sick move anymore. The trio makes their stand against the giant monstrosity, with the conflict ending in a twisted version of null space generated by a smaller but seemingly more dangerous robot appearing in the third phase, and then they take him down by triple boosting straight through the bot, causing a large explosion and the army generated by the Ruby to disappear, finally ending the war once and for all. The heroes celebrate their victory with a tearful moment between Classic Sonic and Tails as Classic Sonic is pulled back to his own dimension due to the Ruby vanishing. Sonic notes that everyone will need to do their part to clean up the aftermath of the war. Knuckles brings it into the formal resistance since there's no longer a purpose for it. Your character leaves while being praised for actually doing a good job, and Tails says something cheesy about friendship. Later on, Sonic and OC the character exchange their goodbyes and go looking for the next adventure, and the game ends.
Wow. I am shocked at this game's story.
So already we're shoulder deep in plot holes, inconsistency, and general anarchy. Sonic is, for some reason, unable to beat enemies he's had a lot of prior combat experience with, and Tails doesn't do anything to help him in the fight at all. Tails isn't crazy at all, Shadow is gone for no reason that was ever actually explained, and none of Sonic's friends actually do anything at all besides stand around and talk until the end of the game. I recognize the attempt made at making the game story serious, but it's so frustrating since they seem to sacrifice most of what we know and love, from all Sonic's interactions with other characters, previous happenings in games, and even the apparent skill level of Sonic himself, in order to provide what seems to be cheap and easy ways to have dark moments. There's no true despair here. It feels like everyone is trolling Eggman by letting him take over with full confidence that they'll be able to stop him at the last second, and then proceed to do so. In Sonic Unleashed, the Doctor shattered the damn planet into pieces and turned Sonic into a monster. But that didn't stop Sonic and his friends from fixing things and defeating an actual god. I understand the moments between Sonic and the Avatar and Tails and Classic Sonic are meant to be touching and emotional, but the execution isn't very good, and it's even more annoying to see that Sonic Team can't stick to one story. Sonic Generations. Classic Sonic is from the past. Well, guess what? He's from an entirely different dimension now, and for some reason Sonic and Tails already know this. What? The Phantom Ruby is never really explained in-game either. After the true ending of Sonic Mania, Classic Sonic, the Chaos Emeralds, and the Phantom Ruby are all sucked into a portal, which takes at least Classic and the Ruby to Forces. Dr. Eggman retrieves the Ruby and apparently creates more, which would be all the prototypes that were mentioned, as well as the one the Avatar manages to pick up. Infinite is given the final version, presumably allowing him more exact control over what it does, and in the end it falls out of use as Infinite disappears for reasons we will probably never know. Eggman, however, still has the original Phantom Ruby from Mania and puts it into his new Death Egg robot, and then it ends up back in Mania for the events of Mania Plus's Encore mode, or Mania Adventures. Apparently they're both canon and you just have to pick which one you like more. Okay, I guess, whatever, sure. It's never explained why it requires a power source or how a remote power source would even work, and none of this was required in Mania at all. It's just something that annoys me, as at least in most other Sonic games we had answers besides "it's just this way." Iizuka, I get it. Making games is not easy, but like, stop saying things do or don't exist just because. Please, please, it's super frustrating. They also can't decide whether or not the Phantom Ruby changes actual reality or just people's perception of it. Neither makes sense really, because either people wouldn't be able to be physically injured by the Ruby's power, or Eggman and Infinite 2 would have been disintegrated with the sun destroying the planet. Tails is apparently entirely useless now, as he is also apparently not capable of fighting or fixing things that I think would be considered small potatoes for his already known level of genius and combat skill. I understand they needed to give the Avatar some relevance, but there are so many better ways of doing it besides, let's make pre-existing characters completely useless, and then make your self-insert all powerful. It's just not meant to be done like this. Infinite's backstory is explained in the episode Shadow Free DLC pack, which contains 3 stages, a bunch of dialogue, and like 1 cutscene. Omega goes on a mission to scout out one of Eggman's weapon factories and is destroyed by Infinite, which is how he was broken in the main story. Shadow goes after him and is thrown into a large-scale illusion by the Phantom Ruby, and after breaking out of which, he is told by Infinite that he was the mercenary Shadow humiliated, cue flashback, sometime prior. Infinite was emotionally torn by the fact that Shadow defeated Infinite's entire squad, which was presumably like his family. While the concept sounds good on paper, it comes across in-game as Infinite throwing a temper tantrum because Shadow kicked his butt halfway across Mystic Jungle. It's also worth noting that even though this DLC is free, none of this is mentioned in the base game at all. I don't think it was that great an idea to leave out significant plot details and to package them as DLC instead, but it happened anyway, so oh well. A lot of my other complaints with the story are really all based on the same thing, inconsistency. I would be much more tempted to overlook its shortcomings if it didn't take what we knew from every Sonic game that preceded it and threw it all out a window. The locales in this game consist of the returning Green Hill Zone, Chemical Plant, and the Death Egg, with a healthy dose of Starlight Carnival, but now in all dark gray with no fun light pathways, with the new city, also referred to as the Ruined City in concept art and stuff. I mean, it's cool to look at, but also kind of boring to look at for the 50th time. Mystic Jungle, which I honestly love. I mean, hey, it's pretty cool, just I wish the stages weren't mindless and so short. Metropolis, I still don't understand why this city gets a name. And the Eggman Empire Fortress, which is just as boring to look at as it is to say. It's very boring, in case you didn't know. I know a lot of people get upset with Green Hill Zone and other stages repeatedly coming back, but it doesn't bother me much. Jumpstart 3D level design does bother me, but that's not exactly exclusive to Green Hill Zone now, is it? With all that story nonsense out of the way, we've got the other half of what I would consider most games not known by the names of Doki Doki Literature Club or Sonic 06 to consist of. The gameplay. Saying that it has been heavily simplified would be the understatement of the century. Wisp capsules are back with modern Sonic using only the white wisps this time around, and no, we can't get boost from rings. Again. The Avatar utilizes the rest of them, but we'll get around to that after we talk about Sonic and also Sonic. Sonic no longer has a lightspeed dash or drift at all, large parts of stages have been automated entirely, and there are speed boosters everywhere. Only when you reach the end of the game are you given opportunities to fall off stages of your own volition. Using Luminous Forest as an example, the half-pipe sections have so many boosters that guide you to the next one in the set. They really won't let you fall off unless you try really, really hard. The boost itself has actually been changed though. If you air boost, the boost will end after just a second or two and will continue to function until you either let go of the boost button or hit a wall or something. Jumping into the air while boosting doesn't make you lose any momentum either, and while the stages are super simple, It does make for some nice rhythm on, say, Metropolitan Highway. Unfortunately, Sonic is horrible at platforming in this game, despite having the double jump instead of the jump dash, which is usually mostly ignorable, but causes a lot of frustration in one of the extra stages you can unlock. Flying Pod. It's so terrible you've probably already heard of it. He also doesn't have an idle animation and only one homing attack animation, so he's pretty boring to look at. He does have the slide and stomp, but they're only used once or twice, and the stomp even has a sound bug where the sound plays when you hit the button instead of when you hit the ground. Every single time. Also, why the heck is he this shade of blue? Literally, what was the reason for this? Mania? It makes no sense at all and looks very unappealing to the eye. Sonic has been mostly the same color since Sonic Adventure 1, so there's that, I guess. I thought I was going to use that as an argument, but really that's just a fact. Oh well. Classic Sonic is okay. His spin dash no longer causes you to go so quickly you travel back in time like we're in Sonic R, but a lot of his stages feel like they have some subtle, scripted parts beyond what's obviously already there. Some walls you get launched into while playing this classic will bounce you straight into the ground upon hitting them, for example. I'd rather see a curve in the corner between the wall and ceiling or something to make it feel more natural, but it is what it is, I guess. I don't hate classic Sonic as much as some people do, and I'm fine with him coming back in modern games, but I want the story to stay consistent about where he's from and how he ends up in places he shouldn't be in, and I want the games he's in to have good gameplay overall, since there's so many problems that just removing him wouldn't actually make people complain less.
The Avatar, on the other hand, yikes.
Don't get me wrong, there's a lot about the Avatar's gameplay I absolutely love, such as some of the level of customization, the different playstyles that are given to you via the Wispons, and yes, I know some people pronounce them Wispin, but I heard Wispon first, and that's what I will continue to call it because it's already a habit. I'm going to quickly outline the different kinds of Wispons because I hate when people show 2 or 3 as some kind of customizable item in a game, and I wonder if maybe there's one I would have actually liked a lot but I won't know before buying and playing the game. There are the Burst Wispon, which is the first one you're given. It has a flamethrower as its main attack, and its Wisp power allows you to jump infinitely until you run out of power. The Lightning Wispon, which gives you a whip ability with long range as its main attack, and a boring version of the Lightspeed Dash as its Wisp power. The Cube Wispon, which gives you a ground smash attack that first turns all nearby enemies into cubes and then destroys them upon using the ability again. They can also be destroyed by walking into them while they're stuck in the cubes. Additionally, if you use the attack in the air, you will spin around and rapidly deal damage before striking the ground as normal. Its Wisp power allows you to create a pillar of platforms that Radical Soda so eloquently referred to as Minecraft, and I have to agree with him. The Asteroid Wispon, which I think is actually pretty cool, it lets you attack enemies with sorta clones of yourself consisting of the little purple blocks that would normally float around Sonic when using the Asteroid Wisp in other games. Its Wisp power speeds you up and turns you invincible, which is something else I find neat. Additionally, if you jump and then hold Y while using the Wisp power, you will hover. That's pretty cool. The Drill Wispon, which is 110% broken in the right hands, allows you to charge up a devastating dash attack. Its Wisp power does this. I honestly don't really know at this point, but hey, it's pretty cool. The Hover Wispon, which gives you a little burst of air as an attack that looks hilarious as you send Eggman spinning to their doom. The Wisp power just makes everything a joke. I mean, look at Imperial Tower. This is ridiculous. And lastly, the Void Wispon. If you thought the Hover Wispon was funny, you haven't seen anything yet. It shoots out a black hole that just kind of instantly wrecks any enemies in the general area. Its Wisp power even lets you actually teleport. What's not to love? Now with that out of the way,
Wait, you want me to actually talk about the gameplay instead of acting like I'll talk about it, stating a few basic facts and then just skipping over it entirely? I mean, that's a little weird, but okay, I guess.
I generally play with a very particular version of the Burst Wispon, which has an effect on it that I wish was default for Sonic. Specifically, one that makes you speed off upon hitting the ground if you hold a direction while stomping. It actually makes for some really nice gameplay and keeps the flow going during platforming sections. Of course, you can find that on some other Wispons as well, but unfortunately you can't just mix and match the bonus effects to your heart's content. Or at all, really. Every effect that appears on a given Wispon is preset, so you'll have to decide which one you want. Of course, you can change your Wispon in the avatar menu at any time, so it's not like you're locked into a single choice for the whole game. Considering the fact that the game's depth is shallow at its deepest, I don't think it's a fatal flaw by any means, If the Avatar gets brought back in a future game though, being able to do more with the bonus effects would be nice in my opinion. Unfortunately, the Avatar probably has as much automation as Sonic does, if not more, as there are several grapple points the game automatically swings you around with no input from you whatsoever. These automatic ones are handily colored yellow, so you know exactly when you can put the controller down and get a snack or take a bathroom break. There's also the usual scripted sections galore, and some of the wisp bonds are essentially scripted sections where you hold Y and watch a bunch of flashing lights. It's not really terrible, I guess, just boring. And definitely about 5 steps down from the past several Sonic games, so what's going on at this point, really? Not to mention the Avatar only having the ability to wall jump an Imperial Tower while Sonic can't do it at all anywhere in the game. Not getting to use the boost we see the Avatar perform in the final boss, and even while double boosting... Actually, customizing the Avatar is pretty neat though. There's a bunch of species to choose from, each of which has their own special ability. Dogs to respawn with a small number of rings after dying. Wolves get a kind of item magnet that draws in all items like normal rings, wisps, red star rings, and even super rings. Not even Super Sonic does that. Rabbits get extra invincibility frames when they take damage. The bear gets an AoE whenever they use the wire attack. Cats keep some rings when they take damage. Birds double jump. And hedgehogs make rings you drop stay on the ground longer when you get hit, so you have more time to pick them up. This is pretty cool and adds some variety to the gameplay. I kinda wish I was allowed to use all the abilities on any one character I wanted upon beating the game, but I guess that is what it is. I also wish some of the abilities had less to do with taking damage and dying. I'm not that bad at the game. Yeah, never mind. As far as the outfits, there's generally 3 variations of each clothing item or accessory with a handful of outliers. They serve only cosmetic purposes, which is perfectly fine by me, and you unlock them by completing stages, collecting all red star rings in said stages, but not the number rings or silver moon rings, and completing missions. A lot of them look pretty cool, and you can unlock shoes belonging to Sonic, Tails, Silver, etc. with multiple variations of each. Unfortunately, the soap shoes look pretty terrible this time around, but I'm sure they'll get it right next time. My one major critique for this part of the game is the fact that you can't combine clothing pieces of the same category. There's some belts and backpacks and other similar pieces I would love to wear over, say, this pirate coat I made my avatar's main outfit, or even just a normal t-shirt. But no, if you want to wear the belt or the backpack, you don't get to wear normal clothes. Next time, let's get a separate pants menu too. But before you say bodysuits, they neither serve the same purpose nor are okay in general. Literally, what the hell is this? Something I honestly would have loved a lot is full voice acting for avatars. Yeah, I know it's expensive to pay a bunch of voice actors and actresses to record a full game's worth of lines, but it would really have gone a long way. Just imagine the dialogue options when people make fun of your character. In summary, if you bring the Avatar back, please give us way more freedom with customizing their appearance, and maybe a lot more voice acting. For better or for worse, there is one more playstyle we have to talk about, and that is Tag Team. It's just a small combination of both Modern Sonic and the Avatar's moves, and while most of it is okay, the fact that if you use the homing attack after using the Wisp Bond, the game performs a slow wire attack instead is one of those little frustrating things you just wish weren't there. There's also QuickTime events in the Modern Sonic, Avatar, and Tag Team stages, and instead of being fun, you play, wait for the circle to slowly close in on the small circle for a stupid amount of points, and it's so dang boring. I love Unleashed QuickTime events, and Generations weren't quite the same for the boost trick mechanic, but they're still pretty honestly fun to pull off. The QuickTime events in this game feel like a pointless waste of my time. It's probably also worth mentioning the episode Shadow stages. There are 3. They are slightly edited versions of Park Avenue, Aqua Road, and a mostly original Green Hill stage. They're really hard to get S-ranks on and feature Sonic Maker level design back from Sonic Colors. That's all.
Oh yeah, Super Sonic is in this game and he has no plot significance whatsoever. Fantastic.
The story behind this one is that he was released in January of this year, 2018, as free DLC that would later become paid for $3 after the month ended. Literally everyone complained about it, so they changed it to be free forever, which is awesome. Unfortunately, Super Sonic kinda sucks. There's no transformation button, you activate it automatically upon getting 50 rings in the stage, although you can slide to skip the transformation animation, which is pretty cool. The game follows the trend of previous games, like Sonic Lost World, by not having a complete animation set for him, meaning that you de-transform during the QuickTime events with Sonic. You can't use him in any bosses outside of the Metal Sonic fight, because the game treats that as a regular stage. And he looks exactly like Modern Sonic does. A wooden statue. He's Classic Supersonic too, and he's pretty much the same as normal Classic Sonic, but invincible. You can roll to skip the animation here, which is fun for going fast, Can we get a super form for avatars next time?
Hey, wait, hold on a second. I just realized something.
I don't want to rip off too much of what other people have already put so eloquently before in terms of bosses, so I'll just quickly say that the Zavik fight is lacking in real challenge and unintuitive. Infinite's fights are interesting in concept, but could use a bit of polish, which really goes for Metal Sonic as well, seeing as he's just another Infinite fight. Egg Dragoon is underwhelming as heck, and the Death Egg robot fight is honestly pretty damn cool. Just bring back supersonic boss fights and maybe some hypersonic action instead of saying the super animals have ceased to exist just because, and will be gravy in the final boss department. The music in this game is pretty hit or miss, unfortunately. The Avatar's themes consist entirely of vocal themes, which is cool in theory, but the only one I enjoy listening to after having played this game for many, many hours is the theme of Aqua Road, Moonlight Battlefield. Several of the themes seem pretty jarring and just aren't that fun to listen to after a few playthroughs of the stage. I think modern Sonic stage themes are pretty solid overall, but the synths are really questionable after we had soundtracks like Lost World, 06, Generations, and my all-time favorite, Unleashed. It really feels incredibly basic in the sound department. Throw some violins in there and make it like Sonic Runners. I don't know, man. It just feels like a downgrade. At least Team Sonic Racing has T-Lips and Hyper Potions working on the soundtrack. Give me more of that, please. Classics, again, I think could have benefited from utilizing violins and other orchestral instruments instead of the really unappealing synth they used in Forces. Otherwise, it's pretty decent, but Egg Dragoon's theme has had enough Thomas the Tank Engine jokes made about it that really speak for themselves at this point. The third phase of the final boss is a really good example of what the more varied instruments could have done for the soundtrack, in my opinion. Metropolitan Highway and Network Terminal's outside themes are both good examples of a decent synth setup they used, though, and I love both of those songs a lot.
Now, if only they'd do more remixes of the latter, because oh my god, there's so many Nightcore remixes!
I guess I'll put a quick summary here, because that's what people do in reviews, apparently. I think that Forces has a lot of potential on some of the things it explored, like the large-scale conflict between Sonic and his allies versus Eggman, the slightly tuned boost that allows you to use it in the air without too much consequence, and revisiting the concept of characters talking to each other in stages. However, it has a lot of flaws in the very shaky music design, incredibly short and mindless stages, tons of removed gameplay mechanics that for some reason Sonic Team doesn't seem to think we want in our games anymore, disappointing quick-time events, a disjointed and inconsistent story, and some gripes here and there regarding the highly restricted customization. All in all, you'd probably get some enjoyment out of this game if you were to buy it. I know I've had enough fun to play it as frequently as I do, but it's really a massive step backwards in almost every aspect of the franchise, and I really think Sonic Team needs to focus on putting as much depth and quality into gameplay as they did in Unleashed and Generations, not restricting players as much as they do in all parts of the game, and most importantly of all, get better writers, because let's face it, Pontac and Graf stories have been really freaking horrible and make me cringe on a regular basis every time.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. This is the first time I've tried a video of this scale ever, and it took me about 3 weeks to make, including all the writing and recording, and also having some issues and getting a capture card that actually worked for me in order to get footage of some other games. But I really, really hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully you'll stick around and join me for some other videos as well. If you want to talk to me, there's always the YouTube comments, and then there's also my Twitter, which I have down below in this little box, me and on the camera. And yeah. Thank you again so much for watching if you watched this far, and I hope you'll stick around until next time. Until then, I'll catch you later.